All right, in this podcast, we're going to talk about KW, the equilibrium constant for water, and temperature. Okay, so how do we actually define what's acidic and what's basic? Well, acidic is something that has more H plus ions than OH minus ions, and basic is something that has more OH minus ions than H plus ions. And slap dab in the middle of that is what we call neutral. Neutral is when the OH minus ions are equivalent to the H plus ions. And since at 25 degrees, the OH minus and the H3O plus ions are both 1 times 10 to the negative 7th, and we know that KW, the equilibrium constant for the dissociation of water, is concentration of H plus times OH minus, then KW is 1 times 10 to the negative 14th. So that's going to relate to a pH of 7 for neutral at 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, so here's the problem. That's only true at 25 degrees Celsius. The value of KW actually changes with temperature. As you can see in this chart. All right, so understand that the dissociation of water into H plus and OH minus is definitely an endothermic process. There should have been a little plus sign there. Looks like it got bumped down just a little bit. So it's an endothermic process, meaning it requires energy. It absorbs energy in order for it to happen. So as we increase the temperature of the environment, the water is going to shift away from H2O towards the H plus and the OH minus. So that's going to change our equilibrium. So it's going to change our value for KW. So as temperature increases, H plus and OH minus actually increase. And as we decrease temperature, H plus and OH minus actually decrease. Since pH is just a measure of the hydrogen ion concentration, as the temperature increases, the H plus increases, meaning that we're at a lower pH, and as the temperature decreases, it causes the reaction to shift back towards the reactants, which is removing our H pluses and our OH minuses. So it's going to make our pH actually a little larger because we have less H pluses. Okay, so what this all basically means is that as our temperature is changing, our water, our pure water, is not becoming more or less acidic. It just means that our concentrations of our H pluses and our OH minuses are changing. So where we define neutral is changing. So if I'm running a reaction at, say, 50 degrees, then my KW value is 6.63. So what that tells me is if I have a solution with a pH of 7, that solution is actually basic because it's higher than my KW. My KW is my actual value for neutral. So what does all this really mean? Basically what it means is the value that defines where neutral is, and therefore the ranges for acidic and basic, it shifts according to the shifts in KW. But just remember, neutral means the H plus is equal to the OH minus. So that's exactly what it means. It doesn't actually mean pH of 7 all the time. It means that those two things are equivalent.